5-0 through 5 weeks. They've been behind for a total of 3 minutes and 26 seconds. The 5 other teams in this statistical neighborhood all went to the Super Bowl. Also, led by 13 or more in each of their first 5 games since 2007.
Sam
Well, 5 of
Darnold,
those games,
MVP.
5 of those teams made the Super Bowl. So
The 2019.
we didn't make
It was
it.
Brady's last. No, they didn't. That was Brady's last
That's
year.
right. So we'll start with Greg. Your 5-0 Vikings. Something or nothing.
Something, definitely something. No one in Minnesota thought that this team was going to be 5-0. Let's start there.
Okay.
No one. I'm saying no one in that organization probably thought that this was going to be the case. But defensively, they've been outstanding. Offensively, they're getting a lot of production out of Sam Darnold, production that only they knew they could potentially get. No one outside of that
Kyle
building.
Shanahan thought he
Called
was
him
Steve
Steve
Young.
Young. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan.
But he didn't use him because he had Purdy.
You
And
think
so
Kyle's-
when you look at this team and how they're winning, like it's fun to watch. They're fun to watch. They fly around to the ball defensively, offensively. Yes, or in that game Sunday morning, Sam Darnold didn't have a great game.
No.
But what he did was when they needed him to make a play, he made it. Like to get them into a position where it was a 6-point lead versus just a 3-point lead. He was able to make a play to Justin Jefferson, extend the ball, and then they got the field goal. And then his counterpart, that Aaron Rodgers, didn't make a play. So for me, this is definitely something.
Darnold, though, 50 passer rating. We all have
Don't do it.
rightly put him on pumpkin watch. Should he not be on pumpkin watch?
Be on pumpkin
He's
watch.
had how many years of bad play?
Being a pumpkin.
I'm just saying. That's all I'm just
But
saying.
but he is-
45% completion. I'm just
But he
saying.
didn't cross over.
No, not yet. It's
Okay.
one game, but this is nothing. This 5-0 start.
Nothing?
What do you wait? What do you?
It's nothing to sneeze at. The Vikings are for real. Unless Darnold, that's the big question. Will Darnold go pumpkin mode? And that is a legit. You looked at me like you wanted to, like, if looks could kill, I'd have been on the floor. But I'm just saying, you don't think Darnold should be on pumpkin watch?
No, I think they're
So he's-
protecting him from pumpkin watch.
Okay, yesterday he struggled badly.
He did.
Yeah.
he did.
Listen,
But
Aaron-
there all the reasons you said they're legit. This is the
If Aaron
this-
Jones' injury lingers,
that's
yeah, that
problem.
was big. That's when they started having their
that's
issues.
problematic.
And also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll just say quickly, that division, who's not making the playoffs?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, will it be 3?
No.
I mean,
it won't be.
those are
No, he said
legit
maybe the
teams.
I
Vikings.
said maybe the Vikings.
Yeah, Nick just said maybe the Vikings won't make the playoffs. That's how little he believes in Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, so yeah, Sam Darnold didn't have a perfect game. Surprise, surprise, every single quarterback doesn't play perfectly every single game. So that's nonsense. I told you this was in London versus New York. This always had potential to be kind of like a weird game for various reasons, quite frankly. But I think overall this was another great hard-fought game by the Vikings. I mean, the defense alone had Aaron Rodgers angry, throwing interceptions left and right, and Salah was just defeated. I mean, Salah, at some point you just see him, he was just like just done, checked out, right? I mean, like, they literally took the heart out of the New York Jets. Okay, that alone is just a huge victory. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was frazzled and frustrated and was, trying to talk to the sideline, and it was just they were all disconnected, and that's all because of the great defense that the Vikings have, right? Because of Brian Flores. I think the offense was interesting. I personally, and who am I, right? I personally didn't love the game plan. To me, this is the way how it landed for me, and I'm curious how other Vikings fans felt. And I don't know if it was because, Sam Darnold trying to get redemption versus the Jets or, what it was. It felt like it was big play or bust, right? That's what it felt like. And maybe it was Sam Darnold. Those were just the reads and the decisions that he kept making. It just looked like it was big play or bust, right? It was either just... So I can't even say that Sam Darnold necessarily played bad unless it was his decisions that he kept refusing to take anything else underneath, or if it was more the play calling. It just felt like they were just trying to go for grand slam after grand slam after grand slam, and it's just like, That's just not going to happen, right? And that's just what it felt like to me, constantly looking for that big play. They were obviously aggressive, right, going for it on 4th and 2, and it was another long throw, which I just didn't like. Then Mullins, comes in and then he throws, which again, on one side I really love. It shows the confidence that Kevin O'Connell has in his team and the trust. But it was also kind of like another indicator of just how aggressive they were being. And I just don't know if that was necessary to do that against the New York Jets. Like, I will always be a fan of more conservative football. Still being aggressive, still pushing the ball down the field, still taking chances, but I'm boring in that regard, right? Like, and maybe that's why I can never be a coach, because I'll just be too easily found out, right? But I just like a slightly more conservative approach, especially against an inferior team, right? I understand against the big heavy hitters, that makes sense. But against a team that I see fundamentally inferior to the Vikings, the Vikings are better coached, better prepared, healthier, stronger. They just play better football, younger, but in the good side of younger. And so it's just like you don't have to do anything crazy. You can play just what I always call football 101, right? You could just do fundamental football and you're going to win that game quite convincingly. I think it's slightly concerning that you force like 3 turnovers, and it might have been more than that, but definitely 3 interceptions, and yet the score is 23-17, right? Like, more points should have been scored. The ball should have been taken care of a little bit better. Drives should have been more sustained from my viewpoint. But that's only because I have ultra high expectations for Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, and the Minnesota Vikings, right? This isn't me just being a hater or anything like that. It's just because I think that this team, if they play their cards right, could legitimately be going to the Super Bowl, okay? I mean, they really seem like the only team right now that is really composed and well coached, start to finish, every inch of the roster. Right, you can point out a lot of flaws and a lot of like inconsistencies and ups and downs with these other teams around the NFL. But the Vikings, I see 2 things that happen with the Vikings. One, they just go to the promised land, man. They just make it, and it's just like, this was an absolute historic season, my God. Or 2, they have this amazing season, and then just nothing that they were able to do during the regular season works in the playoffs. I think the Vikings kind of in a way saw that a couple years ago, right? Versus the Giants, if memory serves me correctly. I think that's who it was, right? I mean, they were having a magical season, winning all these games, right? Kirk Cousins, everything's going good. And then the playoffs came around and it was like they never played football before, right? Like, everything just popped. I could see that happening, not because that's what I'm predicting, right? But I'm just saying that that's why you button everything up now. You treat yourself like a contender. You don't treat yourself like a, magical story in a Disney movie, right? You treat yourself as, no, this is real. This isn't fool's gold. We're not on pumpkin watch. Like, we are the kings. Enough of this nonsense. Enough of this doubt. Like, just stop. We belong. Just because we weren't here before doesn't mean that we don't belong here now. And so, like, you take advantage of that. And quite frankly, it's a good thing that they lost a couple years ago, because that's also a huge learning experience for Kevin O'Connell as well. So, and I don't know how many other lingering players were on that team at this point. I'm sure there was a handful, but probably the meat of it is probably not. But more importantly, it's more important for Kevin O'Connell to quite frankly have that experience, because he'll be better prepared. He'll know what to expect better. And so I think that's where the Minnesota Vikings are. Right? If they take care of business, if they clean everything up, if they continue to be smart and not outsmart themselves, which I believe they won't because of Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores and the maturity of that team, they could avoid that moment where they are rolling and then, oh my God, what just happened? Right? Like what happened with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Packers. Now, I think the Dallas Cowboys were fool's gold, and that's why that happened. It wasn't because there was lack of preparation or I felt that they were going to keep rolling, but that's what you're trying to avoid, obviously. I mean, technically every team's trying to avoid that, right? But that's why I think it's good that they're able to win these weird, wonky games, right? Again, on the road in London. I think it started raining for a little bit as well. Just a weird situation. Going up against Aaron Rodgers is like, does he still have it? Is he the GOAT? Is he not? Is he old? Is he young? What's really going on? Who is this team? Things got weird. They were taking a lot of shots down the field for the Vikings that weren't really going as planned. So just like kind of some weird stuff, and yet they were still able to come away with the win. When you see teams like fall apart like this, or down the road, is they lose games like this, or you come away from this game feeling, yeah, they won, but they got lucky, right? I don't feel that way. I don't feel that this game, I don't watch that game and say, yeah, the Vikings won, but they were really lucky that they got the win. That's when you start to get nervous about what happens down the road. Can this unravel? Will Sam Darnold turn into a pumpkin, right? Will the Vikings get rolled in the first round of the playoffs, right? Like, that's when you start to get concerned. That's what happens to the Philadelphia Eagles, for instance, right? They got lucky in so many of their games when they started the season 10-1. They get to the playoffs and they get rolled, right? So that's why I'm just like hyper alert on all this type of stuff, and I think it's important, and believe me, that's what the coaches are doing, right? They're trying to figure out every little thing that goes wrong so they can fix it, so they can move forward. And I think games like this only honestly, and only in a lot of ways, help you, because you didn't play perfect ball, but you still won, so there's plenty on film for you to work on and grow and evolve. And I think it matters. Yeah, this Vikings team continues to be exciting and interesting. I confess I was pretty tired watching this game, because I even wrote a couple notes, and I'm like, I forget what the context of this was. There was an interception and then the fumble, and the fumble was bad luck, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't really remember. I don't know why they have these games so early on the morning. It's ridiculous. In London, man, that's crazy. What time is it in London? Like, can't they push it back a little bit? Like, have it a little bit later or something? Because it's like, what the heck, man? Because I really wrote that quote, and if I wrote it, that means I want to talk about it. But I'm like, I genuinely don't remember, like, what was the score, what was the moment. Next time there's a super early game, I'll make sure to take even more detailed notes so I can know it, because I was like, maybe I'll just say this and run with it. But I was like, I honestly really forget now, like, how it all unfolded. Yeah, all in all, still a good team win, and I think it also continues. The last thing that I'll say is, since the Vikings are trying to do something special this season, every moment like this, like just winning in London, is just an experience for a lot of these guys, right? It's an experience that really helps with team building, right? Just going to London in general, going overseas, out of the country, it's a unique environment, unique situation. That alone is team building. And even if they lost, it would still be team building. But when you can come away with a win, it just really marinates in that. And that's what this team needs, right? That's what this team needs. If they really can reach the promised land, they need to continue that team building, that connection, so they can be resilient in the moments that games are not going as to plan, right? And they can begin to just continue to build that trust and continue to build that momentum. So it's quite remarkable that they are 5-0. It is clearly something. It is absolutely not nothing. And Sam Darnold is not on pumpkin watch. Save that for Halloween. Yeah, I went there. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Minnesota Vikings first team to 5 wins? Is it something or nothing? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.